Oh, all right, we are live. So first things first, I should share and get set up for the next sprint. So share, window, writing studio, hour, share. Boom, there we go. All right, that was last night's sprint. We set a record, 1,579 words across both sprints. I don't I don't feel like I'm gonna break that record tonight, but we'll see what happens. I don't know how long it's gonna be. It always ends up being around an hour, but we are looking at sprints 20 and 21. We don't know how many words they're gonna be yet. So my work in progress has a total of 10,719 words. That's where we sit right now. And what are we doing? Okay, so we're going to start off on entry 45 once we get everything set and going. So if you've never done a writing sprint before, what's going to happen is I have an old phone here that I'm going to set a 25-minute timer on. And during those 25 minutes, our job is to simply write as many words as we can on whatever our work in progress is until the timer goes off. Once the timer goes off, we're going to get a word count. We'll check in with each other, see what kind of progress we've made. Then, after a short break, we're going to start a second sprint and go again. Let me get the timer set up. 25 minutes seems to be pretty good. I can get between, I don't know, 6 to 750 words maybe. Like if last night I broke 800, but for the most part it's been around 6 or 700. Times it's been lower than that because I was reading or I had to look something up. There we go. All right, so let's move my actual phone out of the way. The timer set up, and the challenge is how close can I get it so that it's easier to read, or that it's clear to read. Yeah, around there should work. All right, so let me hit in chat. So, writing sprint number 1. The timer is counting down. Write as many words as possible in your work in progress. The alarm goes off. All right, so there's the instructions in chat, just in case anybody joins us mid-sprint and the timer's running. Now, my personal work in progress, this is a low fantasy, low fantasy. It is a medieval setting. It's an epistolary story, so it is told almost entirely through journal entries in a found diary. All right, let's see. Everything's all set. I'm going to hit start on the timer and we can get sprinting. Boom, 25 minutes on the clock. And go. Oh, yeah, and go. All right. So, boom. Sprint number 1 is over. Now I gotta go back. That's more smaller entries. Now what I do is I have a Google Doc. All right, twice the flowers and salt. Yes, I want this. Oops. So I copy and paste from here into Google Docs. And what it does is the sky. Oops. Fierce. Here we lets me get a word count. But the way it gets pasted into Google Docs is the opposite of how it's written. Now, I don't know. I feel like I can't really mess around with the foot infection. So now the timeline needs to speed up. All right, it's a lot of pasting, but the shorter entries, I don't know. I'm still feeling 600 maybe. I don't think it's any worse than what we've been doing, but I don't know if it's. I don't think it's another 800. Maybe though. I don't want to. Not quite. Not quite. I'll take it. It was a good number. 745. So sprint 1, 745 words. So anybody that's sprinting along with me, let me know in the chat how many words you got. Sprint number 1 is finished. Made it 745 words. How many words did you get during the sprint? There we go. I need to collect my thoughts here. It felt at the end of the last sprint like I was approaching the end. Now I started writing tonight, and now it's like I wasn't approaching. I was sprinting towards the finish line. It's like this is gonna. I don't know. This is gonna be. I was hoping for maybe 15,000 words. This will be closer to like 12, 13 maybe, which whatever. I'm a firm believer in the story will tell me how many words it needs to be. I'm not gonna inflate it just to hit a word count. I don't, this isn't for any particular contests. This isn't for, I don't have an agent. I don't have any press telling me, oh, this has got to be X amount of words. So however long it takes to tell the story is however long it takes to tell the story. Now I'm going to be excited to have this published. Like I can't wait, but it'll be what it'll be. I don't know if it'll wrap up tonight. One sprint left. I could probably do it in 2 sprints. Do I want to do it? It's going to be a late night. I don't know. We'll see, because it feels like what might happen is this next sprint, I can get to the end of the journal. I might only have a couple more entries in the journal. The next sprint will wrap up the journal at least. So, and then there's an ending scene, so to speak. It's like, man, if I had this better outlined, like, I don't think it's gonna get wrapped. 25 minutes is gonna be cutting it close. But could it wrap up in another 1,000 words? Man, maybe. Probably. Actually, I mean, I could make it happen, but will it naturally hit that if I don't force it early? I mean, look, tonight, if it goes a little bit extra, let's say we round up to closer to an hour and a half instead of a little over an hour. Maybe 13 hours. Yeah, it's less than 1,000 words an hour for time spent doing this. I don't know how fast other people write. So it's like, man, can I just, even if I just do a 13,000 word novelette, this rough draft is going to take close to 13 hours to get it out. I'm going to need to let it rest. Then I'm going to need to go back over it myself. Revisions, edits. Then I got to find somebody to like actually edit it for, like, somebody who's not me, give me editorial feedback. Then it's off to beta readers. Then maybe another round of edits after that, revisions. Then it'll get published. So it's like, man, even if this was a 40-hour work week, like, only to produce a novelette, like, yikes. I feel like that's slower than, the real writers write. Well, I don't know if it's going to get done tonight, but we're going to get close. Just this going and start. Boom. There we go. Yeah, Garmin just told me I had a high stress day. Ah, it's so silly. So I think, entry, we'll just straight up entry 53. The fever has returned. Drastic, that doesn't sound right. If it does not get better, I must think of something. Less than a minute. So close. 30. Come on. 30 seconds. I'm happy with it. I know it's a little janky, but his mind is, it's more clear, but it's not fully clear. Like, he's septic. He's been racked with fever for days. He's weak. He's dehydrated. He's lost a ton of blood. Like this is his last sort of lucid moment, so to speak. I'm just gonna cut and paste it to get the word count. It's like, man, that doesn't feel like 800 words, man. 500, if maybe. Oh no, I forgot. Let's see, untitled. Where did I leave it? Entry 52. Okay, boom. There we go. So entry 55 is the one. So I've got to cut from entry 53 up. That will tell me how many words I got in this sprint, but the last rambling thoughts of the last lucid moments he's having. So the only thing that I have left from this is the last of the diary entries, is the ending. And the ending part is he's going to put the journal in that waxed canvas bag he's been transporting it with. And then he is going to just cast the entire off and then throw that whole thing into the river and hope that it carries it downstream, with the idea that if he finds the diary, then they might find him upstream. But there we go. I'll highlight it because not as strong, but 580 words is what that sprint turned into. So, to end the story chronologically, that's the first thing that happens. He ties off the journal, puts it in the bag, he throws it in the river, it floats downstream. The story starts with the person who finds the journal, and then we read the journal entries. But one more sprint, and that'll finish it. So let's try this. 745 plus 580. 1325 maybe? I don't know. I don't trust my math. I need to get my calculator out. So that means that the total between the two sprints, 745 plus 580, it's 1,325. I can't remember if that's what I said or not, but that's what the calculator's telling me. So it's a decent word count. Had better. The record was last night at almost 1,600, but 1,325 plus 10,719 is going to bring the total running word count to 12,044. So that'll be one more sprint and it'll wrap up the rough draft. And then what I usually do is I let things sit before I go back and I do a first revision and editing pass myself. And like we've seen with me writing in Notepad here, what I think I write, and then when I look at it 2 minutes later, what I actually wrote can be two different things. Just a sea of red and blue squiggles. So I like to get those cleaned up before I more seriously look into who I might use for my editing. Because I have people who prefer to edit the fantasy genre. I have people who prefer to edit the horror genre. This, it's not exact. It's not. I wouldn't call it scary, but it just is what it is. Um, anyway, yeah, my point was I run through the first couple passes. I do some revisions. I do edits. I clean it up. Then I send it off to get feedback. I go over what the editor says, make changes to it, kick it off to my beta readers. I don't actually do the whole advanced reader copy thing because I don't write large enough material. I don't have novels. At 12,000 words, it's kind of a smaller novelette. It doesn't even hit the novella mark. Um, but when I get the feedback from my beta readers, sometimes I make changes, sometimes I don't. Sometimes they find spelling errors that I've missed in half a dozen passes. My editors have missed. Like, sometimes there could be 4 or 5 people that have read my work and then still find spelling errors. So once I get my feedback from the beta readers, that's when I make the decision is okay, is this story done? And then I can either publish it on my own website or I can shop it around to magazines and contests. The hang up is if I put it on my website, then it's considered published. So the magazines that want the first serial rights, they just putting it on like my own blog is enough to use up that first publishing that they want. So unless it's something that'll take a reprint, and not a lot of them do, then I have to keep it a secret, submit it for review to the magazines, and then it sits in their slush pile usually for months before I hear back. And maybe if I shop it out to 2 or 3, I might not be able to freely publish this until it's been rejected 3 or more times in a 6 to 9 month adventure. So there's a disconnect between writing a story and being able to share the story. And to be completely truthful, I have written every word of this first draft on YouTube Live. So I'm not even 100% sure this might count as that first publication. So this one might not even be eligible to go to a magazine. I'm not sure who publishes epistolary fiction in historical settings that 12,000 words. Most of the magazines, they really 4 to 5,000 is a real sweet spot. You can go up to 6, some take up to 8, but once you get higher than that, less and less of them are interested in like 12,000 words. Your anthologies, your collections, like they'll take bigger works like that, but just for the magazine space it takes up when they print them out, 12,000 words is a very large submission. Sometimes when they get that big, they break them up and it's released in chunks over editions. But what are we at? That's 1 hour, 12 minutes. Both sprints are done. Put my time in here. And 1 hour, 12 minutes. That's going to be 41, 12 hours, 41 minutes, and I think I have one sprint left before this revision's done. I didn't get as many words in the second sprint tonight, but I accomplished what I was setting out to accomplish. So, I'm happy. That was good progress. Tomorrow should be able to wrap it up. I don't know if I'll be able to do a second sprint tomorrow, but that'll wrap up tonight. So, if anybody's still in here, let me know in the chat how many words you got in your sprint. Otherwise, everybody, have a great night.